There we go. According to that, we started.
We're on the air.
Okay. Okay. So, Uncle Roy, so when were you born and where were you born?
December 29th, 1927 in El Reno, Oklahoma.
Okay. And how many brothers and sisters do you have and what are their names?
I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. The oldest sister was born in 1908, Rilla,
Mm-hmm.
and the next oldest is Pearl. She was born in 1913. They were both born somewhere in Oklahoma, in Arkansas. I'm not sure what town. And then I have 2 brothers. Jeff was born in 1918, somewhere in Arkansas. And Dude was born in 1923, and that was somewhere in Arkansas, but I don't know where.
Okay. So what was your childhood like? Do you remember any stories?
When I was, let's see, my dad had been in the Army earlier and been out and done several things. And at that time, he was in El Reno. I don't know what he was doing exactly. I know he was a photographer, and he did photography work through a lot of his years.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly a secondary occupation. At times it was his main occupation. I don't really recall what he did when I was a baby. But then he went in the Army in 1928 sometime. And was stationed at Fort Reno. So my first years were spent at Fort Reno. I don't remember a whole lot about it, except like some of the kids, the relatives. My oldest sister Rilla married a soldier out there, and she already had one youngster. Helen was born in early 1927. She's older than I am. And then she had 3 children. Charles Buddy was born in 1930. Nadine was born in 1932. Annette was born in 1934.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of grew up with them more like brothers and sisters than nephew, niece, and uncle. And then there was other kids at Fort Reno. We just grew up. Our parents were all in the service. We grew up around just Fort Reno was a remount post. The main purpose of the post was remount, the training of horses and mules for military, mules for mountain packing, etc. A lot of those were used in World War II. And in Southeast Asia, Burma, Italy, over quite a bit of the world. And let's see, we left there in 1930, I think it's late 1936, it might have been 37, I'm not real sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it was either 36 or 37. We went down to a little town in, right outside of McAllister called Cabness. Something like C-A-B-N-E-S-S, I can't remember exactly.
I've never heard of that.
Close to another little town named Stewart.
Okay.
And Pop rented a little gas station and grocery store combination.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't work out at all for them. We were there less than a year, I think, and then moved back to El Reno.
Right.
So then I went to school. I started school in the first grade while we were at Fort Reno. And my vision was very poor. And about the time I started the first grade, I just got started. And out playing one day, I got hit in the face, side of the head with a baseball bat.
Ow.
And that caused me to lose the right eye completely.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor said what might happen was the left one would improve, and it did. So I had the vision actually improved from it. I was too young to really remember and understand this. And so I missed that. And then I missed the first grade, more or less, again, the next year by moving around, plus the vision was still causing me trouble. So I really didn't start the first grade until I was 8 years old.
Yeah, so I was thinking, is if you moved there in 36, you'd have been 7.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I was 8 when I started first grade. So I was behind in school and don't remember much about the lower grades. I wasn't real interested until I had a teacher in the 6th grade. And he was just a real wonderful man, and I loved numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked extra with another girl and I, Leanna Casey, I remember, and we both excelled, and that got me interested. And by the time I was in the 9th grade, I was already up to senior year in math.
Wow.
And that is something I really love, but that's really the only thing I liked about school.
That's exactly like Caleb. He hates everything but math.
Well,
If he could just take nothing but math, he would just be happy.
I understand him. I loved it. And then I guess I got into motorcycles. I was, a couple of my friends were the same age I was. They were late getting in school for some reason. And we all dropped out of school in the 9th grade. And I spent years, I enjoyed motorcycles. We worked at several things. We did farm work, worked at the elevators, worked at grain elevators, just anything we could do, you know. And then when I was about 18, I went to work back out at Fort Reno for civil service.
Mm-hmm.
And worked out of their engineering division. And I really enjoyed that. And in fact, I took a test to go to the Army Engineering School at Fort Sill. And the guys told me that the Army personnel, 2 of them told me that they thought I could do fine and would be real good. I passed the test, it looked real good. And I guess for some reason I decided I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be on my own, and I didn't go there. Then I had an uncle and aunt. I had an aunt. My uncle had died at that time. In 46, I went up to Tri-Cities, Moline, East Moline, Rock Island, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a year and a half up there. I was told how wonderful it was, how much I'd like it, a lot of good jobs. And I guess they were if you wanted to work in a factory.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed a year and a half and I really disliked it. I wanted to go back.
Yeah, you were a bit more of a free spirit.
Yeah, I just didn't want to be at an assembly line. That was not interesting to me. I didn't like it. So my friend Bob Wade and I went back, visited El Reno a few days, went on down to West Texas to Lubbock and Midland and that area, mostly south of Lubbock. And we roughnecked a little while. And then we got a job to us for about $1 more an hour to go over to Gile, New Mexico and build a rig. We did that. We worked long hours for about 3 months or so. Made more money than I knew existed at that time because we were working 10 and 12 hours
Yeah.
a day, 7 days a week.
Good thing about working that much, you don't have time to spend it either.
We
so it
didn't,
accumulates pretty
we couldn't
quick.
spend anything. Yeah, we
Too tired
kept,
to, too tired to play.
yeah, we kept all the money. We didn't play
Uh-huh.
any. Went back over to Midland when that job was over and met the driller that we'd worked for that had been our boss, and he offered us a job and said he would hire us, take us both on, and we talked a while and met him in a restaurant. We were eating breakfast, and he said, by the way, there is one hitch to this story. It's in Casper, Wyoming. And we thought about that a while. He went out the truck and brought a map in. We sat and looked at that a while and told him we'd take the job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I got to Wyoming.
Hmm.
And I spent several years in Wyoming in the oil fields. And the longest time, me and my nephew worked together, Bud Bynum. We were together for Rocky Mountain Rental Tool. We
Now,
did
he was Rilla's son?
Rilla's
Okay.
son,
Yeah, who's really pretty much your brother, right?
More like my brother than
Yeah.
anything. And I was about, I think I was 2.5. I was 2.5 or, yeah, I was about 2.5 years older than Bud.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked together for Rocky Mountain Rental Tool. We ran a pipe straightener. We did tool joint work, weight indicators. We housed rigs for the winter time, the floor, the substructure, and the monkey board up high where the derrick hand works. We did that kind of work. We did that in Montana, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, Colorado, and as far west as Wells, Nevada,
Wow.
and as far southwest as Farmington, New Mexico.
Hmm.
So we covered a lot of ground. And got tired of traveling and working all the time, and I quit that and went to work in construction, got my carpenter's card, and I worked building houses, mostly for one company, Mountain States Builders in Casper, Wyoming. Did that mostly then until I lost my sight in we figure it happened around September, around Labor Day in September, in a water skiing, just a bad fall water skiing in rough water.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just, it was kind of tough. You could see, and then a month later you couldn't see.
Mm.
And it's one of those things, you know, if I was used to working all the time, I could always work in the oil fields, I could work in construction, and all of a sudden there were no jobs for me. So I looked, and it was tough. And I didn't know, really in all honesty, I didn't know whether just to shoot myself or keep trying. One day I finally made up my mind to quit thinking about that because some way I could make it. And somehow
So how
I
did you
did.
come to that decision? You were telling me yesterday you met another
Well,
blind person, kind of changed your changed your philosophy.
I knew him when I could see.
Uh-huh.
And he was a brother of two guys that I ran around with some.
Mm-hmm.
He had lost his vision in accident in a shipbuilding yard out in
Mhm.
Seattle, Washington during the war. And no one had encouraged him to do anything. He wasn't capable of doing anything. His family did everything for him. He couldn't walk out of his own yard. And I knew I couldn't do that. And one day I decided I didn't have to.
So how long did it take after you lost your sight before you hit that point?
Oh, I can't exactly tell you to the day, but let's say 5, 6, 7 months.
That's really pretty quick.
I was down for, well, it seemed like forever.
Yeah, I know, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if it took a couple of years to get there.
No, I come out of it before that, and I don't know how I did it, but I found jobs. And,
Mhm.
I worked at the hospital in an x-ray department. I found out I could do that. I'd heard about someone doing it, went up to the hospital and talked to them. And they said they didn't see any reason why I couldn't. You didn't have to see, you were in a dark room.
Okay.
And,
So they weren't having to read x-rays?
no, I wasn't reading x-rays. Yeah, this is when they had to be developed. They had to be hung and developed over several minutes through a very heavy, slimy, stinky solution.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took them out of their cases when the doctor stuck them in one side of the wall, and then they had a buzzer they buzzed, and then I knew I could take them out because you didn't want the door open, letting light in.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take them out of another door on my side, and I would hang them and run them through, and finish them, and then give them back to whoever was going to read them.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for a while, and anything I tried didn't pay enough money to really
Right.
make a living. And then I talked to a guy at the packing house, meat packing house in Casper, and he told me sure, he was sure he could find something. So I worked in their packing room where they packed wieners, lunch meats, bacon, hams, things of that sort, you know. And I did fine in there. Stayed there for quite a while. And, but there again, I made very small wages for what I was used to.
Well, on top of that too, you went from jobs with lots of responsibility, creativity, feeling very free, to jobs that aren't very fulfilling too.
They weren't.
That'd be tough.
They were fulfilling in a way to find out I could do something.
Correct.
And after you did them a few weeks, there wasn't much to it.
Correct.
Except to know that I had a job to go to.
Sure.
Oh, and in that time, I forgot to mention, I did go to the Seeing Eye. I decided I didn't want someone walking around everywhere with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried a cane, and I wasn't very good with it. I went to Seeing Eye and got a dog, a Seeing Eye guide dog in New
Mhm.
Jersey. And that dog was wonderful. I could just take off, leave the house, and as long as I knew where I wanted to go and where I was, I could go anywhere in town.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to go out when I didn't feel like going to bed. We'd go out and walk sometime 2 or 3 or 4 miles of an evening, and the dogs loved that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what really got me started, to where I did a little better, I'd heard about guys. I had spent time around gyms when I could see, and I liked exercising, liked to be around gyms, and the guys that were around them. So I talked to them at the at the YMCA in Casper, and asked them if I told them what I thought and what I'd heard, that people who were blind had taken that job in the I can't remember what I was called, like a physical director,
Mm-hmm.
and
Some
I
type
ran-
of administrator.
yeah, I ran the weight room, the exercise room. I lined people out on exercise
Mhm.
programs for what they needed, so forth and so on. I went down
Like
to
a fitness trainer, kind of?
yeah, that type of thing.
Okay.
And yeah, officially they called it health club director. I remember, but what it was actually like I say, we guys come in, get a membership in the health club, and I would try to line them out on the equipment we had, what would be the best for what,
Mm-hmm.
and try to talk them into not starting too fast and hurting themselves, because that's what people usually did.
Yes.
They'd get so sore they couldn't come back in.
Right.
And I worked there and enjoyed that. That was fun. I was there almost, between 3.5 and 4 years. And while I was there, a lot of companies out of Casper were going public in the oil field.
Mm-hmm.
I started investing, and some of the guys that came up there, a lot of them were out of the oil fields, and a lot of them were geologists engineers, landmen, independent drillers, and since I spent several years in that, I knew something about it. So I started investing in these companies when they came public, and it seemed like I had very good luck. By the time I left Hawaii, I was making more money trading stocks than I was from the YMCA.
Mm-hmm.
And a good friend of mine actually talked me in. He said, you should get a license. With your experience, you ought to get a license. He said, half of the oil people in town know you and like you. He said, we'll all throw business to you. So I went ahead, studied, got my representative's license, and went in brokerage business. And that just worked out wonderful for me. I loved that. I liked the people I worked with, and I had so many clients I liked, and I liked talking to the guys around the state. I'd get where I would know guys that would be on a well in Utah or North Dakota or Montana or Wyoming, and I could get information that wasn't available to most anyone. So I could make money for my client. I had a good chance of making money for my clients and making money for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed in that till about 82, and at that time, I figured I had all the money I needed to retire and take care of Carolyn.
Mm-hmm.
And also, that type of business was going downhill real fast. I've seen it coming. And
Yeah,
I thought
82 was when everything kind of just started tanking in the oil field.
They did. It tanked. The small companies went downhill. The drilling money dried up.
I
Oil
graduated.
went to a price of nothing almost.
Yeah, I graduated in 81, and I was going to go to OU and become a petroleum engineer. And in 82, fall of 82, I started. And by the time that first semester was over, it was like, what happened to the oil field?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to be a petroleum engineer after all.
If that wasn't the best time to do
No.
it, maybe that was the best time to go to school and get the degree. I don't know. That might have been,
I
because
don't
you
know,
never
it
know
still
what's
was-
going to be down there a few years later. So, but that about took me up through my working life, and that I've done. After that, I've done a lot of investing and a lot of trading, but I just do that for Carolyn.
Mm-hmm. Just keep pump from.
Just keep my head busy.
There you go.
Like Harold said, I need to do that to keep my mind active.
Well, that's a good place to stop on this DVD. I need to pop another one in here because we're at 25 minutes, and these are only 30 minutes long.